name is Slomainy, and I'm currently taking a course at Thiel College entitled Integrative Instructional Systems. I will be teaching a lesson in science based on the PA standards and integrative technology into my lesson. I hope you enjoy watching my sample. Good afternoon, boys and girls.
Good afternoon.
Today we're going to be learning about non-living things and living things. So to start off our lesson, I want you guys to kind of think about what are some living things and what are some non-living things. So I'm going to have each of you come up to our board and give me an example of a living thing and a non-living thing. So as soon as you get that, let me know. Raise your hand. Me. Miss Julie. Give me an example of a living thing. Very good. Very good. Okay, now what are some examples of non-living things? Let's think of non-living things. So what I want you to do is to start thinking about what are some characteristics that make up a living and non-living thing. What do they have, what are similar and what are different? So right now we have this graphic organizer we're going to use, and it's going to help us develop the characteristics of living things and non-living things. So take a moment and we're going to figure out the must-have characteristics of living things. What does a living thing have to have to make it living? Julie?
Blood.
Has to have blood. What else? All living things have to have blood. What are some other things? Ryan?
They have to grow.
Grow. Very good. I like that one. How about one more?
Breathe.
Breathe. And do we know some examples of living things? We're going to use our list. So for this one we have an example. We know a cat is a living thing. Why is a cat a living thing? Julie?
It has all three of those qualities.
Very good. A cat has blood. It can grow. It goes from a kitten to a cat. And it also breathes in oxygen. Very good, Julie. Now we're going to move on to our, does everyone have any questions about the living things? We all have this down? Good. So now for non-living things. What are some characteristics of a non-living thing? What separates a non-living thing from a living thing? Julie?
It doesn't breathe.
Good. What's another characteristic? Ryan?
It doesn't move.
Doesn't move. Give me one more characteristic.
Doesn't have blood.
Doesn't have blood. Okay, so now let's look at our examples that we did earlier. So now that we've worked with non-living and living things, we're going to have a definition for each. So we're going to make a definition for a living thing. So I want you to use your graphic organizer and have a volunteer come up and come up with a definition that we're going to use for a living thing. AJ, what's your definition?
Living things have to grow and breathe and move.
Very good. Do we agree with AJ's answer? Thumbs up. So AJ, would you like to come up and write your definition on the board? So I want you to think of a definition that we can use today for a non-living thing. So let's think of our characteristics that we came up with, and let's see if we can generate a definition. Ryan, would you like to write on the board for us, please? So we now define non-living as things that don't grow, breathe, or move. And we also have living things that have to breathe and grow. So you can see the opposite. So to practice this idea, we're going to watch a short video and we're going to fill out this characteristics of life chart. Now I'm going to first model to you all and show you how to fill it out. So across the top right here, we're going to write characteristics of life. So we're going to think back to both of our charts and what are some characteristics of life. As you can see, there's 5 columns. We've come up with 5 different characteristics. Okay, Okay, now as we watch our video, we're going to list the items that we see, and we're going to put a check mark or an X if it matches underneath these categories. So I will model the first one we see. So our first thing we're going to write is icicle. And those are icicles. So going back to our chart, we're going to write icicles. And are icicles breathing?
No.
No, so we can't put a check there. Do they grow?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to put an X if they grow. Do they move?
Yeah.
Okay. Do they have blood?
Mm-mm.
No. And do they think?
Nope.
Very good. So I'm going to play the rest of the video, and as the video goes on, make sure that you write the name of that's being presented, and then we're going to check off what characteristics they exhibit. Now we're going to go back and we're going to fill out our chart together. So, can I have Ryan come up and put one living thing and one non-living thing that you wrote? You can bring your chart up if you want. So now looking at these characteristics, we have some questions that we're going to reflect on to kind of analyze our data. So the first question I have is, what characteristics did all the living things have in common? So looking at our chart,
Growing and moving.
very good. So you can see that these three examples, they all grow and they all move. What characteristics do all the non-living things have in common?
Move.
They all move. And we learned previously that just because they move doesn't mean that they're living, correct?
Yeah.
And then our last question, how are the living things different from the non-living things? So looking at our list, let's kind of generate what made the living things different from the non-living things. Ryan?
They have life cycles.
Very good. And just to review what we've learned, I'll have each of you come up to the board, and I want you to draw either an L if it's living or an N if it's non-living. So Julie, could you please do one for us? And the pictures are of a grass, rocks, a pot, a tree, a turtle, and logs. Very good. Do we agree that a turtle is a living thing? And why is a turtle a living thing?
Because it goes through a life cycle.
Very good. So now that we've learned, do we want to go back and add anything else to our graphic organizers? So before we end our lesson, I want each of you to tell me one thing that you learned today about living and non-living things. So I'll give you a second to think about it, and then raise your hand when you're ready. Julie?
A living thing has to go through a life circle.
Very good. What's an example of a thing that goes through a life cycle?
Like a chicken.
Very good. Good. Thank you very much, boys and girls.